That's why it's really important to have a plan and understand what your goals are.
In fact, my camel out there is suffering right now with a broken back.
So I actually found Pepe when it was only a couple of hours old, and I'm like, oh, this is a funny meme.
Oh my god.
Yo! Who is this Degen?
The old man is swing trading over years at a time. And it's like, that's where the real money is made.
The answer is a permanent loss. With single-sided staking, you don't have to worry about a permanent loss.
If you're aware, if you're disciplined, you can hone that into further financial growth.
Financial freedom, to where you can actually live life and not have to be constantly living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, more or less, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels, welcome to this here episode 57 of the Degen Roundtable Sunday Show. My name is Will Stevenson. I'm joined tonight by Brendan and Agent Jay. We're going to be talking about the crypto's battles with the SEC. We're going to be talking about a little bit of TA with you, some of the stuff going on with the Bitcoin options approvaling, and much, much more. Before we get into any of that, though, let's introduce the panel. So again, for those of you guys who have never seen me before, my name's Will. I'm one of the hosts here at the Degen Roundtable. I travel the States and do ironworking, and I like to talk shit about crypto. I don't know a lot about much things, but I know a little bit about a lot of things. And so I'm here to just have a good time and see what's up. Brendan is one of our macroeconomics specialists, and actually Jay knows quite a bit about macro as well. Jay's our great value technical analyst, as you guys can see by his little tag over there. But we're going to be chopping it up and having a good time. Gentlemen, before we start getting into what we're going on or what we're talking about today, you want to give a brief introduction and tell the folks at home what is new and exciting with you, starting with my co-host, Mr. Brendan. What's up, bro?
What's up, Will? Good to see you, buddy, as always. Jay, pleasure. You know, it's a football Sunday. I watched a little bit of football today. It's always an interesting time of the year. I feel like football kind of dominates what's going on. I know, Will, you don't watch sports, but for a lot of people, football, fantasy football, betting, you know, people are just so tied into the football game. And I didn't get to watch as much today as I normally do, but I was up early to watch my team play in London. That game started at like 9:30 this morning. They got blown out, as expected. But made a great brunch, and that was worthwhile. And, you know, man, I'm just continuing to watch the markets daily, look at coins, keep my eyes open for this Richard Hart case. I mean, I'm just like 11 days away from this hearing. And look, we're probably not going to get really much out of it, but it's still something that's really interesting to me, and I'm really excited for that to be coming up. Other than that, man, just I'm doing a lot of wedding planning, getting ready for all that stuff. It's a lot of work. People say, oh, yeah, wedding plan's a lot of work. It's way more work than you ever anticipate. Like, way more than I ever anticipated. But nonetheless, super excited. Things are going well, and I'm excited to shoot this shit with you guys tonight. Jay, how you doing, buddy? Been a while.
Hey, yeah. So I wasn't here on last Sunday stream, but as always, you could find me every single day in the Telegram chat, chopping it up with our members. We did do a Telegram Tuesday with Dace. So as I always say, if you want the alpha first, then you have to jump into Telegram, because that's where we usually drop a lot of the juicy news first for our Telegram members. So, yeah, I wasn't able to make it last Sunday stream, but you know, I'm never completely disconnected from the space or from our community. As far as what's new and exciting, I mean, you'd never get a boring week in crypto, right? It's either the volatility is either to the downside or to the upside. There's always something exciting going on, especially since most of the world and now the West is finally catching up in terms of the adoption, right? A lot of the regulatory unclarities is becoming more clear here in America. Specifically, you've got now other sovereign nations adopting the currency. Now you've got presidential candidates. Obviously, if you've been around the presidential cycle, a handful, more than just a handful of the presidential candidates, both on the left and on the right, are we're talking about crypto, and now obviously Donald Trump has planted his flag firmly as the pro crypto president. There's this meme, that I saw earlier. I showed this to my father-in-law because I took my in-laws, me and the wife, who took the in-laws out for some brunch this morning, and we were talking about the elections, and my father-in-law Kevin, he was asking about we were talking about Trump's pro crypto stance, and I showed him this meme about this guy. He's like, you guys have seen this before, where he's like, he has his hands up and he's like, "Don't shoot, I'm retarded," and then the the SSR ask him like, "Prove it," and he's like, he's like, "I'm voting for I'm pro crypto, but I'm voting for Kamala."
Oh.
So I'm like, yes, you are indeed retarded, sir. Because
he must buy XRP.
Oh, he must buy. Oh, come on, man. Why gotta take a shot at the XRP bros, man?
Well, because their founder.
Yeah, I know. The founder. Oh, no. Not Garlinghouse. Not Garlinghouse.
Ripple?
Yeah, I think the co-founder might have endorsed Kamala, and I know Mark Cuban's bitch ass is endorsing Kamala.
Yeah,
right?
Chris Larson. I think it was Chris Larson. You're right. It was Chris Larson. XRP.
Yeah, it wasn't Garlinghouse. So I don't know. I don't know what Garlinghouse's stance is in terms of politics, but I mean, I guarantee you they're probably. I don't understand it, bro. It's like, why would you endorse the person that is unclear about? Like, she's got no policies, certainly no policies for crypto, right? At least nothing that we can really sink our teeth into. And I mean, go ahead.
I don't know if Ripple or if XRP has like crypto stances or crypto policies either. They're more of a stable coin than anything else.
Well, let's be honest. I think that some people in the Ripple Foundation, they want government to adopt Ripple as sort of the basis of a CBDC. I think that they want the government. Look, if you ask me, XRP isn't like a true decentralized financial token that it interests me because of that. They want some centralization. They want to be that sort of that token that's used to trade and to close out trades between parties. And so it's hard to say, but Chris Larson, he's a co-founder, man, and so that does sour me on XRP a bit.
Yeah. Well, you've got it's kind of part and parcel, right? With this mass adoption, like we always talk about this, with mass adoption, like everybody's gonna want to get their hands inside the pot. If Larry Fink is all in crypto, well, I don't know if he's all in, but he's certainly more all in than his other colleagues, right? Like if you've got the biggest asset manager in the world kind of capitulating to the fact that yes, crypto is going to be the final frontier of finance, it would be foolish to not assume that almost everybody else is going to want their hands in the pot, and that includes like every single major centralized entity. Right, there's going to be a battle here within the next decade for who can hold the largest share of the pile. Right, so it's like it would be foolish and naive to assume that crypto isn't going to like exhibit some form of major centralization with all of the mass adoption, right? But obviously it is your responsibility as the individual to be like, all right, like make peace with the fact that these centralized entities are going to get their hands on crypto, but conduct yourself in such a way so that you don't fall into that trap, right? It's like what does Richard Hart always say? Not your keys, not your coins, self-custody everything, and accept the responsibility that comes with that. Otherwise, then you're just kind of like you just basically entered another proxy for the banks.
Yep.
Right. So like, it's part and parcel with the space. Anything that gets major adoption will inevitably be adopted by people that you don't want in the space. So it's like, come on. Yeah. So that's kind of
it is only a matter of time until they find a way to wiggle their grimy little fingers into until it's no longer the Wild West and we're no longer having fun.
Yeah.
And it's all just a big giant not like a big giant mess, but like the government's going to find a way to get their stuff into our little play zone.
Yeah.
They're gonna take away the cool monkey bars at the playground, and they're gonna put in the pea gravel instead. And it's gonna get all ruined and no more fun. And things are gonna be changing. But speaking of things changing, we're gonna real quick do a round of chat shout outs, and then we're gonna go ahead and launch into some of the stuff that we're gonna be talking about today, and launch into some technical analysis from our good friend Jay here. We've actually got some articles about Ripple that we can touch up on in the near future. But for now, Mrs. Producer, if you don't mind, let's go ahead and pull up these comments. We've got Mr. Ken Turian 54X rolling in 45 minutes before the show goes live saying, "What's up, Degens? What's up to you too, Sir?
Back to being
Good
first.
see you." Yep.
After being knocked off last week.
Yep. I'm going through a lot of our old episodes. I'm like writing down statistics, like how many people are on how many shows, and like what all we did, and where's the links to the work, and how many likes they got. And I'm collecting a bunch of data, and I wonder how, like, I haven't put in the effort to figure out if Mr. Centurion is the first one to comment, because I'd have to go through all the data again. But I bet you he is up there in the 90th percentile. That's for fucking sure. So shout out to Centurion, or Kenturian, excuse me. Good to see you, buddy. And welcome to the show. Up next, we've got Mr. Hex Glenn saying, "Degens, happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to you too, sir. Welcome to the stream. Glad to have you. It's going to be a good night tonight." Speaking of it being a good night tonight, our next comment is from the very own Chad Donnerschwanz, the Pepe on the moon. Hello only to my fellow based crypto bros. Hello to you too, good sir. Oh, excuse me. It is good to see you. And yes, nothing but base crypto bros on tonight. All of us, including those in the audience who are cool enough here to be watching us live. Next up, we've got M Rock Jockey, or Mr. Ock Jockey. I still don't know how to pronounce your name, so I'm just going to call you M Rock Jockey. What's up, D-Gents? What's up to you too, sir? Good to see you. Welcome to the stream. We're going to get cracking tonight. It's going to be a good day. Next, after that, Marcus72 says final or next. I'm not sure what he's referring to. Do you guys, was he mentioning something we were talking about earlier?
Yeah, because I mentioned that crypto is the final frontier of finance. In my personal opinion, Mr. Marcus72, crypto is the final frontier of finance. Are there going to be a lot of copycats? Yes, absolutely. I mean, we have like tens of thousands of copycats trying to usurp the king, which is Bitcoin at the current moment. But you're 15 years behind. You've got to worry about institutions, nations, sovereign entities adopting you. So you've got a lot of catching up to do. And you're going to have to convince people who are already all into Bitcoin that your sound money principles are better than Bitcoin sound money principles. And good luck. So final frontier is my conclusion.
I will say, Jay, about 70 years ago, we didn't know that we'd be using lasers to cut open our eyeballs and, get better prescriptions and stuff. So I'm eager to see what the future holds as far as technology goes. And if we continue this like parabolic trajectory of increasing in the tools that we use to run our lives and make shit easier, I don't know what the next best thing could be, but I'm curious to find out. I'm inclined to agree with you though. If I had to put money on it, I'd say that this is probably the final frontier. And who was it?
I will say, until we go all the way backwards, full circle, at some point, all of our technology be knocked out. We're on another planet, and we're back to mining rock, baby.
Bro, I was just about to say that one fucking quote. I think it was Eisenhower, where he's like, "I don't know what weapons World War III is going to be fought with, but I know that World War IV is going to be fought with sticks and stones." And it's just like, yep, that about sums it up. So shout out to whoever said that. I'm pretty sure it's Eisenhower. But yes, and speaking of shouting out people who say things, we've got some more chat shout outs to get to. We've got Conspiracy Crypto, Mr. Ramon himself, showing up saying, "What's up, fam? What's up to you too, good sir? Glad to see you. Good to have another excellent Hexican in the space." Shout out to Ramon. He's got a super cool channel. You guys should check it out. Conspiracy Crypto. Real fun stuff. Real excellent conversations with good people over there. So, and that, I do believe, does it for chat shout outs. So welcome one and all, those of you guys who are watching us live, and those of you that are catching us on the replay. We super duper appreciate y'all spending your time here with us. Y'all are awesome. And we're going to go ahead and kick it right into the stuff that we're talking about today. We'll go ahead and start off with some technical analysis. So Mr. J, if you have some fun and fancy charts you would like to pull up and walk us through, that would be fantastic, good sir.
Yeah, for sure. Just to kind of round off the conversation that we were having before shoutouts. Look, I know a lot of people are not fans of XRP, and understandable, right? You're not a
Yep.
fan of centralized entities, but the best thing you can do is vote with your wallet, right? The market is a very intelligent like entity, right? And it's always going to present you what the people like what the majority of the market wants. You want something super duper pooper scooper decentralized? Well, I mean, look at what Richard Hart has done with Pulschain. I always make this joke that Richard Hart and Chuck are very similar. Like Chuck is also super duper pooper scooper decentralized with Cardano, but like who the fuck is using Cardano? Right?
Yeah.
Like you like go to DeFi Llama and compare some of those metrics. Unfortunately, there's like Cardano is like probably less than a fraction of the usage to something like say, oh sorry, something like Sui or something
Yeah.
like Base, right? Or like even something like Ethereum. So
Yep.
people are voting with their wallet, unfortunately, and people are they want to be degenerate, and
Yeah.
they're not
It's
really.
strange what
Yeah,
what filters up to the top when you give people the options and where they want to put their money. Like I don't know about any Cardano Lambos, and I don't know about any XRP. Well, there might be XRP Lambos out there perhaps, but like there is definitely something to be said for the amount of marketing and the amount of mindshare and the amount of attention economy that exists within the Richard Heart ecosystem.
yeah. And like here's another example that it just popped into my head. Like people want super duper privacy. Well, like you can go to Monero. Like Monero is all about privacy, bro. But it's like if people really wanted to use them, then it wouldn't matter that they were they were delisted from almost every single major centralized exchange. People would still go and use them. But people are not like. But that's not what we're seeing, unfortunately. Right? So people are going to vote with their wallet, and then the market is going to reflect where you're going. And right now, the market is reflecting that people want to be degenerate on centralized exchanges, bro. So it's like, you know, can't really blame anybody but ourselves.
Yep. 100%. The numbers go up based on what we want to buy. We vote with
Yeah.
our wallets.
And
We
look,
vote with our feet.
people know that I love what Cardano is doing from a decentralized standpoint, but people ask me, hey, do I still think that it's a good buy currently? Not if you want to make a lot of money. No. But that doesn't mean that I don't like some of the things that chain's doing. But it's like I'm not necessarily going to buy something just because I like it. Now I do hold some. But like if I'm going to invest in something now, it's not going to be Cardano, you know? And that doesn't mean that I still don't think that it has some potential long term, but it is slow to adoption. It's like you mentioned, Jay. I don't know if you know this, 31st in volume on chains. Like it's the 11th highest coin by market cap, and it's the 30th or something like that. Last time I looked, from a standpoint of volume.
Yeah, volume. Take a look at number of holders. Take a look at total value. Like total value, like lock, is a pretty good proxy of like being able to tell where people are putting their money, right? Where they want to play, because that's where like that's literally where they're locking their volume in terms of like assets or stable coins, right? So like you have a ton of like proxies to see where people are playing and where like the money is going. And you made a very good point there, right? For being in the top 20 assets by market cap in crypto, like being number 31 in volume, it's like it doesn't reflect well on you, right? Again, I'm like that's not a value judgment on what Cardano is doing as a whole. It's just a like a quantifiable representation of where the money's going and where people are going to play. Right? Like that's all we're saying, right? Like I like the value proposition of Cardano, right? I like the value proposition of Pulschain, right? I like this. I like the ethos that they stand on, but unfortunately, the bell curve right in the middle, that's not where they're going, right? And you could see that by the like by the on-chain metrics. So good point. All right, let's go ahead and head into TA. Let me share my screen here. Give me one quick second.
Yes.
Hold on.
While you're doing that, we've had two more shout outs, Mrs. Producer. If you don't mind pulling up our next two, we've got my brother Sam Stevenson. Hey Jay, you are killing it. So shout out to you, Jay, from my brother.
Sam.
Most excellent. And then we've also got Moon Mutt, the finest of Degens. Good to see you all. Good to see you too, Mr. Moon Mutt. Shout out to you, an excellent gentleman. Love hanging out with you guys whenever I'm in the area.
Yeah, I caught Sam's stream this morning. So if you guys want to have an hour's worth of just wisdom from somebody who's actually like boots on the ground entrepreneur getting shit done, Sam's channel. I think it's just Samuel Stevenson, right? The Samuel Stevenson channel.
Yes.
That's a pretty good resource. I believe he goes there like doing weekly live streams. Like there's gonna be another live stream sometime next week. So
Yep.
that was a pretty cool stream that I caught this morning with Sam. Definitely gonna be on the next one as well.
Scrutinizing Sundays, baby. That's
Mhm.
what he does. And you can catch, I don't know, I'm pretty sure that he does it every Sunday at a consistent time, but I'm not positive. I'll go ahead and drop the link to his channel down in the live chats if you guys are interested in checking out my brother's Sunday streams. That's where it is, youtube.com/@Sam D Stevenson. So that's where you can find his stuff. But back to TA, we've got some cool stuff going on here. Jay, tell me, read me these knuckle bones. Tell me what does the lines and the numbers mean?
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a little bit of Asian feng shui tea leaf reading here. No, that's actually has nothing to do with feng shui, but I digress.
Hey, it
so
sounds good enough.
it sounds Asian enough. On the weekly chart here for Bitcoin, and my goodness, what a wonderful past few weeks it has been for Bitcoin. So here's what I want to bring your attention to on this weekly chart in particular, right? You can see here this descending trend line that we've been under since our all-time high here back in early March of this year. You can see that we have not had a single weekly close since March. Actually, since any time, right? Since we've formed this descending resistance here, we've tried and wicked and to break out above it. But this is the first week, right? Last week was the first week that we've had where we actually closed above that descending resistance, right? So if you were here on Tuesday and caught that stream, you know that I spoke about if we were to maintain the bullish momentum heading into this week, then being able to reclaim and close above this trend line is key, right? Not only did we close about that above 68,000, I mean, we actually closed 69,000 in the weekly, right? And it looks like we're making another lunge here to the upside. I mean, by tomorrow morning, we might be waking up and Bitcoin's already at $70,000, right? We know that the Asian markets are opening right now. We know that China has definitely transitioned into QE, right? They've announced billions of dollars worth of stimulus over the past few weeks. So we know that there's money and liquidity coming in from China into all markets, right? And that's most likely going to include the crypto markets as well. So we might wake up tomorrow morning and we might be above $70,000 Bitcoin. Right? I mean, we're at 69.4 right now. We might get $70,000 Bitcoin over the time course of the stream, right? So in terms of the weekly chart, we are definitely looking bullish. It is certainly looking like next week we can make a lunge towards 70,000 and probably continue this right translated cycle all the way up into day 50 and beyond. Right? So that's the weekly chart for Bitcoin. Let's go ahead and go over to the daily. Right. So daily chart also looking really, really, really nice for Bitcoin. We're getting something that's a little bit more granular here, something that's a little bit more context specific. So you could see the Elliott wave pattern playing out for Bitcoin on the daily chart. We are currently on day number 45 of this 60-day cycle, and I'm actually going to adjust this because we have just now got another new high on this cycle. So we have a high here on day 45. If we were to play out this cycle as a regular right translated 60-day cycle, I would start looking for this run to start losing steam at around day 50, right? But there's a few things that I want you folks to consider as to why I think we could actually be on the cusp of an extended right translated cycle here, right? So we're going to be looking for a high all the way up until day 60, possibly up until day 70. And the reason why I am saying that is not only did we have that strong weekly close for Bitcoin, but if you take a look at this, right, we've just now hit oversold on the RSI, right? But we have no divergence here just quite yet, right? We have no bearish divergence on the RSI. And that bearish divergence is if you were to see a higher high in price for Bitcoin, and then also a followed by a lower high on your momentum indicators, right? But as you can see here, the RSI is still making higher highs along with price for Bitcoin, right? So we don't have any of that bearish divergence for Bitcoin just quite yet. I would be very interested to see, right, if we keep making new highs over the course of this week. I'm going to be very interested to see what the volume for those highs are, right? Because if new highs are followed by consecutive high volume of capital being injected into the market as well, then that's also going to give me a little bit more confidence that the move still has a lot more steam, right? So really right now, in terms of where we could meet some stiff resistance, the top of that descending trend line was serving as resistance for a little bit, but the fact that we were able to close multiple days and now a week above it is telling me that the bulls are still in pretty good control of the market and that we still have a little bit more room to go before losing some steam, right? Really, the next major area of resistance that I would want you folks to watch out for is if we make a lunge to that $70,000 area, right? It just makes sense because it's a psychological level of support, a level of resistance, number one. And number two, if we go back a little bit here in time, you can see that that $70,000 area has served as pretty stiff horizontal resistance for the bulls, right? For basically the overwhelming majority of this year. Every single time we've tried to reclaim that $70,000 area, we haven't spent a lot of time above it, right? We were able to reclaim it for like maybe a few days, probably like a week at the maximum. And then we were rejected and came right back down to the 60s. Right. So that's really the next major area of resistance that I'm seeing for the bulls. If we can consecutively close more days above $69,000, right? That $70,000 area is probably your next major area of resistance. And then finally, what I'm really interested to see, right? This is probably going to occur not within this 60-day cycle, but probably sometime later in Q4, is what I would really like to see to really convince me that the bulls are back in control of this market, is that I would really like us to reclaim this bull market trend line. Right? If you guys take a look, the bull market trend line, we've spoken about this a few times, right? But for the overwhelming majority of this current 4-year cycle, let me get rid of that. 1 second. There we go. Right. We have stayed above it and really only close below that bull market trend line for very obvious times in the market, right? Right here, we spent some time underneath that bull market trend line during the macro wave 2. And obviously we've spent quite a considerable amount of time from August of, let's see, that was from early August, up until now. So about almost 3 months worth, like August, September, and now October. So about 3 months, 3 months time that we've spent below that bull market trend line. So in order for us to get super bullish once again, then I would really like Bitcoin to once again reclaim that bull market trend line and start closing days, weeks, months, entire quarters above it, right? So you have your $70,000 psychological level of resistance also coinciding with the top of our parallel range here. You have this long-standing bull market trend line that you have to maintain. And then keep an eye out on the golden cross, right? The golden cross is basically your 50-day moving average going above your 200-day moving average. That number is also getting very close. It's unlikely that we do it during this 60-day cycle, but we have a good chance of creating that golden cross once again in the following the next 60-day cycle heading into the holiday season, right? So those are really the points of resistance and points of interest to keep an eye out for Bitcoin. In terms of where this move for the rest of Q4 and for the rest of 2024, where we can see this move taking us in terms of price action, I would just do a very simple fib extension, right? From our swing low here, swing high, back down to our low here that we made on October. I believe this was what second week of October, right? You got a wave 1 impulse here, a microwave impulse, and then a smaller wave 2, and now we're heading into a smaller wave 3 here, right? At the minimum, I expect us, that's probably why I had this horizontal line here drawn out. I would expect this next move to take us to new all-time highs, right? $74,500 Bitcoin, right? At the minimum. So is it possible that we actually get a new all-time high within this current 60-day cycle? That's certainly possible. As far as to the extent of this move, I'm thinking probably around this 1.618 fib extension here at $86,000 Bitcoin, which is around where I was actually expecting Q4 to finish, right? I was estimating anywhere between $80,000 to $90,000, right? And then the next level is the 2618 extension here, all the way up until $110,000. I've always said I'm very conservative with my estimates. I think that at the max, probably $100,000 Bitcoin in Q4, right? But again, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. My minimum targets are here at $74,500 for Bitcoin, which will bring us to a new all-time high. Probably get rejected there, and then head back down for a small correction before continuing the move for the rest of Q4 all the way into Q1, right? But my max target for Q4 this year, probably somewhere between this $86,000 to $90,000 area for Bitcoin, right? But hey, if we get $100,000 and more, I'm not going to be complaining. So
Yeah, that's what I see Dave's saying in chats. He's
what are you saying?
100.
What do you? Yeah, 100,000. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, so $100,000, I wouldn't put it past Bitcoin, right? It just really depends on how bullish we can get during Q4, right? Q4, historically speaking, has been extremely bullish for Bitcoin, even more so if we close the month of September green, which we did. So like all bets are off, right? We're like we'll see what Santa brings to the rally for this year. Let me get back to my charts here. So those are your targets in terms of a resistance to the upside, right? Keep an eye out for $70,000. Keep an eye out on that bull market trend line that we have to reclaim. And then just keep an eye out for that golden cross, right? When the 50-day moving average finally crosses above the 200-day again, then you can start getting really bullish, right? Because that really makes people bullish. Like the sentiment really shifts super bullish when you get that golden cross, right? It's because it's one of those indicators that people really tend to hone in, right? Obviously, we don't make investing decisions based on a singular indicator, but when that cross happens, people tend to get super turbo bullish. In terms of what you can expect for the downside, right? If we top out around this area, right, and we start heading back down sometime next week, and we do have a high here on day 44 of the cycle, then the retracement I could see us making, I have that purple box, right? You're probably going to drop down somewhere within this range here, and that will coincide to some key fib levels. All right, let me adjust this. All right, some key fib levels to consider here, right, in terms of corrections.
When you're measuring fibs, you're going from the bottom of the wick, right?
Yes, from this swing low right here to our current high up top, right? So you got this purple box of support here, right? Coincide with some key fib levels. At the deepest, I would probably put a pullback somewhere around the $61,000 to $62,700 area, right? That 618 to 786 fib are your most common pullback areas, right? When you're talking about a wave 2 correction, right? And what you have here from it looks like to me, right? You have an impulsive move to the upside here, right? You got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, an A, B, C down here. And then you have the start of your wave 3, right? You have to be a lot more granular in order to, you have to go, when I mean granular, you have to go down to lower time frames in order to do a subwave analysis of this impulse right here. But if this was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right, smaller degree wave 1, which would create a 1, 2, 1, 2. I know this is a lot. This might be a lot of gobbledygook to a lot of people.
We're getting in the weeds, but it's still good to hear for those that recognize the words. But please continue.
Yeah. That's why I kind of give people a TLDR for the folks that don't have the attention span to get into the granular stuff when it comes to TA, right? but I am going to target somewhere around this box at the lowest, the 61 to 62.7 area for Bitcoin. Right. So those are your primary targets when it comes to pullbacks, right? You're going to pull back somewhere in the middle of this range, right? If I were to extend this box of support that I've drawn out here, right, you can see that that coincides with, right, a pretty large area of support that we've created because we basically consolidated around this area for the overwhelming majority of 2024, right? 7 months. I mentioned this on the Tuesday Telegram call. We've been ranging for the past 7 months now, right? And so if we were to come back down, then price has a lot of support on the way back down, right? Not only do you have major fibs there, but you have some clear horizontals there when it comes to support. So I'm targeting anywhere between 61 to 62.7 for deep pullbacks for Bitcoin, right? For a more shallow pullback, which we're probably going to aim for is the 382 fib, right? Which is at about $65,000, which is convenient because $65,000 is also the pivot point, right? The pivot point for our range. What does that mean? Every single time we have reclaimed the pivot point, right, on the way up, Bitcoin tends to lunge towards that $70,000 area, which is what we're doing now. And every single time we lose that pivot point, right, Bitcoin tends to make a lunge back down to the bottom of that range around that $60,000 level, right? And so that's if we were to get a more shallow pullback, I'm going to aim for that 382 fib, which is right now sitting at around $65,000, which also coincides with the middle of our bigger range here, which served as our pivot point basically for the entire year so far, right? So that's what I would be aiming at if you were looking for a much more shallow pullback or just an earlier place to dollar cost average into if you were still trying to increase your Bitcoin positions, right? So those are the TLDR is shallow pullback, probably somewhere around the middle of this range at $65,000. For a deeper pullback, you're going to see price make a lunge towards back that lower $60,000 range, anywhere between 61 to 62.7, right? So that's for the people who just want a TLDR. And I think that's what we have for Bitcoin. And then, if we have more coin requests for Ethereum, for some Pulse Chain stuff, and if we have time later down along the stream, then we'll go into more TA. But as of right now, that's what I have for you folks.
Excellent. Very nice. Can we cover a little bit of Brendan, you were talking earlier about wanting to cover a little bit of the Bitcoin dominance for this cycle and stuff. Is that technical analysis? Does it fall underneath that category?
Yeah. Bitcoin dominance? Yep. Yeah. Before that though, I just want to address Centurion's question real quick here.
Yes.
Yeah. If you could bring that up. You don't have to. I could just read it if you can't bring it up, Mrs. Producer. Centurion asks, has your projections changed since Tuesday? Also, could you share your price guesstimations for the RH Eco bad, good, best? I'm assuming post lawsuit. If we have time, Centurion, I will go ahead and do that. I've actually been working on some Pulse Chain TA that basically includes the core 4 that I will be dropping for. It's going to be a Telegram exclusive first before we publish it here on YouTube. So if we don't get to it today, brother, I will go ahead and publish that sometime later this week. And then I will tag you so you can go ahead and take a look at that analysis. But as far as for the first part of your question, I just gave it to you. The projections basically have not changed. In fact, my projections have basically been a little bit more solidified because of the bullish weekly close that we've had for Bitcoin, closing above $69,000, and more importantly, closing above that descending trend line, which has rejected us for the past 7 months.
Yeah.
Right. So,
and Jay, on top of that, I mean, like you mentioned, it's been a while since there's been a right translated cycle in Bitcoin.
Yep.
And seeing that is positive momentum. And we'll get into some of the other things that I think are building some positive momentum for Bitcoin. And look, the reason we talk about Bitcoin so much is because it's the first mover, right? The better that Bitcoin does, the better the rest of the market's going to do as it follows in its wake. Bitcoin dominance, as we'll see here in a bit, is still up quite high. And, many of us are in the alts, heavy in the alts, Ethereum and others, Richard ecosystem, et cetera. And so we we're waiting for that transition from Bitcoin dominance to start bleeding into the alts. But realistically, if Bitcoin's going to hit 85K this year, in the next 2 months, I don't see personally the dominance going down that much in the next several months. And maybe early next year we start to see that. But if we're going to hit 85K plus on Bitcoin this year, I mean, man, next year's looking really, really strong for us to hit that mid 100K ranges, like that 150. If we hit 150, that would be insane. I think that would be fantastic. Anything higher than that for me would just be gravy on top. And look, it's certainly a possibility with the way that this market's moving, the way that adoption is coming all around the world for Bitcoin from an institutional standpoint, from a standpoint of countries. And we haven't even really honestly gotten any outside of the institutions, retail investors, I think, coming into that market just yet. But we do see some reverberations coming from institutions down into the retail market. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, but super bullish right now. Yeah.
Yeah. I do have my dominance chart pulled up here. So if you could pull that up, Mrs. Producer. Brendan, do you have any, I mean, what's your thoughts on dominance? Do you have a target in particular for dominance for either the rest of Q4 or early into Q1 next year? What are your projections for dominance?
Yeah, I think in the short term, we could certainly start seeing into the low to mid 60s by the end of the year. Look, if Bitcoin's going to hit 85 plus K, I think that's just going to drag up the Bitcoin dominance a bit more. And, it's a little different than if you asked what I thought, 2 months ago. I really thought that Ethereum was going to start to gain a bit more on Bitcoin, and therefore the alts would. But it just hasn't played out that way. And so I have to kind of change my thought process of what Bitcoin's looking like. I've personally been very heavy in Bitcoin compared to Ethereum this cycle. But Jay, I talked to you like a few months ago, and I was like, I'm gonna make a trade because I like the ratio of where Bitcoin Ethereum was. And so I swapped some of my Bitcoin into Ethereum. And of course, Bitcoin dominance continues to rise against Ethereum. But nonetheless, I've been pretty bullish on that. Bitcoin being the first mover, and I think next cycle that will be even more in my playbook. But yeah, I think we could certainly see 65% Bitcoin dominance if it really does a fast run up before the ETH ETF really starts taking off and those types of things. So yeah, I think 65% Bitcoin dominance is in play. Although I think that's probably the high end, but below 60s is certainly in play.
Yeah, so I mean those are good points, Bean. I think if you were somebody who was pretty Bitcoin heavy in your portfolio for the majority of 2023 and certainly in 2024, even if you made that trade recently and you lost a little bit of the dominance increase, making a lunge all the way up to 60, right? Because I think we hit 59% in the dominance last week, right? You're not unhappy with that trade, right? Because even if like for the people that made that trade within like the last few weeks, right? Like you got a significant premium in that ratio, right? Because Ethereum, like, I mean, a lot of people were saying that Ethereum is not going to go below 0.04, right? In terms of its Bitcoin valuation, and it did, right? So like if you held purely Bitcoin, right? And you held Bitcoin all the way up until this consolidation, and you're now just making the trade back into Ethereum, like you're making out like a bandit in terms of that ratio, right? And certainly more so if you were holding Bitcoin and now you're just trying to rotate back into the altcoins, right? You're making out a bandit in terms of that ratio, right? Which is why us and others always recommend keeping your portfolio Bitcoin and Ethereum heavy, right? If not like Bitcoin heavy, precisely because of stuff like this, right? Bitcoin, for the most part, is always going to dominate the market up until the post-halving year, right? It's always done that. It hasn't broken its pattern yet. People said it was going to be different this time because the merge and then the splurge and and it just hasn't played out that way, right? And now we're looking at Bitcoin to probably head back up into that 60% dominance. Now, I will disagree with you being a little bit. I don't think dominance heads up as high as 65% heading into Q1 of this year. There's a few distinctions that I want to make between what happened last cycle and what's happening this cycle, right? If you can see here, go ahead, Bean.
Jay, I just want to clarify. I think 65 would be the top that that the Bitcoin dominance would get period this cycle. But realistically, I think low 60s is more realistic.
Yeah. So to consider last cycle's Bitcoin dominance movements, right? What you can see here is that at the very minimum, from September of 2019 all the way up into August of 2020, right? You could see that dominance actually took a little bit of a breather, right? It had a downwards movement here into August of 2020 before making a new high into January of 2021, right? So dominance actually took a little bit of a break before making that lunge. However, what you could see, like the biggest difference between the last cycle and this cycle is the dominance has just been basically grinding up and to the right. I've had this trend line for dominance drawn up since the beginning of this fucking bull market, and it's just used that trend line as support, right? I have not changed this. Like very rarely do we go over dominance here in this channel, right? Because people like tend to not really care about it, even though we would like them to. But Bitcoin has just used this trend line as support and has just continued to grind up. But what you're going to see here, right, and this is on the weekly chart, right? Bitcoin dominance has grinded up slowly over the weeks, but now what you're seeing here is you're seeing a steep bearish divergence on this dominance chart, right? And so even if we were to make a lunge up into like $100,000, $150,000 heading into Q1 of 2025, like I think this is going to start falling precipitously, right? And that's going to be good. That's going to be good for altcoins because what you can see here is once dominance from December of 2020 fell off a cliff precipitously all the way up until May 2021, and then it started to range here, right? It started to range here until it finally found a bottom during the bear market of 2022, right? September of 2022. What happened to the altcoins when this move happened, right? When you saw this precipitous collapse from the top of dominance of December 2020 to the bottom May of 2021, what you saw here was the parabolic move, right? This parabolic steep drop in Bitcoin dominance was matched by a parabolic move to the upside for the rest of the altcoins, right? Ethereum and every single other altcoin higher up the risk curve. Right. So I know people are like really, really sad because of what the altcoins have been doing for the majority of 2024. But like, because dominance has basically grinded up into the right and now is forming this steep bearish divergence on the weekly chart, right? So big time frame, then you can expect this thing to start like falling off precipitously sometime in Q1 of next year when the altcoins start to really, really, really accumulate a ton of that market share, when people start to rotate their Bitcoin gains from $150,000 Bitcoin like into higher risk altcoins, right? So like you just have to be a bit patient, right? Like dominance didn't really take a breather, unlike what we saw here in the 2019 to 2022 4-year cycle. Right, it's just continued to grind up into the right using this trend line of support, which is why the altcoins didn't get much of a breather either, and why they've bled pretty significantly against their Bitcoin valuations for 2024. But what you can look forward to, right, is once this divergence finally plays out completely, like you're going to see dominance fall probably all the way back down. If I were to make a just like a guess, you're going to see dominance drop back down to the top of this range, right?
Oh, the
Easily below 50%, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So 47%, right? Like this right here, right? You see how there's like very little support on the way down, right? Because you didn't really spend a lot, like you were grinding up into the right. You didn't really spend a lot of time consolidating over the past year or so. And so the most obvious, like just visually, the next major area of support for dominance, once that drop happens, is back down here to about 47%. Right? So that's a very large rotation.
Support is downwards and then resistance is upwards, right?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
Sweet.
sir.
I'm learning one step at a time.
Right?
Almost
actually
a master will.
Yeah, I was actually thinking that dominance was going to top here around 57%, but my God, like
It just keeps going.
I guarantee you right now, the large institutions adopting it, regulation becoming clearer, ETFs being approved, sovereign entities adopting it, major countries adopting it, which is probably why dominance has overstayed its welcome a little bit longer than what most people want, right? But I mean, this is not really out of the norm. Okay, like dominance tends to top out like the Q1 of post halving year, like it has in previous cycles, and it looks like it's going to do that again here. Right. So that's why a lot of people who pay attention closely to the Bitcoin dominance are not really surprised. Like people give Ben Cohen a lot of fucking shit, but I'm like, the guy has been right about the dominance chart more than he has been wrong. So, like, again, don't assume that a pattern breaks until it does. And right now, the pattern is playing out exactly how it's always played out. So that's what we got for dominance.
Yeah, Jay, I was two things to that real quick. One, like you said, just a lot more adoption from places, institutions, sovereign entities, countries, companies. There's just a big push to Bitcoin right now. And so I think that has risen the Bitcoin dominance a bit more than you and I anticipated. But that's why I wanted to take a look at this and say, hey, I need to sort of reassess my initial thoughts on that, because it's already grinding up more than I had originally anticipated. And it's not a bad thing, right? This isn't something that's super out of the left field or something that we didn't expect completely, but it's just a bit more than initially anticipated. And it could, again, mean that Bitcoin goes higher this cycle from a dollar standpoint because of all of this adoption. So I actually think that overall, this is actually a positive thing for the market moving forward. But yeah, I'm not upset at swapping some of my Bitcoin into Ethereum. It's just like when you take profits. It's just like when you DCA, you're not going to hit the bottom. You're not going to hit the top perfect. But had I switched my Bitcoin into Ethereum, 5-6 months ago, it wouldn't have been as good, or a year ago than it was when I did it. So still happy with the trade that I made. I'm still happy that I was able to, get a bit more ETH after switching most of it to Bitcoin before the bull market. So that was something I think I was unique on from a big standpoint. But also I want to mention that from an Ethereum standpoint, still bullish there. Right now there's a lot of I feel like there's a lot of FUD in the Ethereum game. A lot of people are kind of fading it a little bit with Solana and Sui and all these other coins. But when is the best time to buy something? When is the best time? When do you think things take off? It's when people least expect it to. And so this FUD in the market, people sort of talking poorly about Ethereum with what's going on now with Uniswap and all this other stuff. And people are like, oh, Ethereum is not going to make as much money, blah, 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 blah. Honestly,
I believe it when I see it.
100%.
When Unichain takes that volume from Ethereum, I'll fucking believe it when I see it, bro. Otherwise, you're just blowing it's just a lot of talk, man. Right? Ethereum is still number 2. Number 3 has to make up 4x the market cap in order to catch up to Ethereum, bro. It's just all talk. There's a lot of it's a lot of hot air until it actually happens. I'm going to be invested in Bitcoin and Ethereum heavily.
And not only that, but the Bitcoin ETFs are going to flow into Ethereum ETFs once Bitcoin starts to pop off. Some of that money is going to flow from Bitcoin to Ethereum because there aren't other ETFs that they can flow into, right? So at some point that is going to be, even though it hasn't been that big for Ethereum yet, it is still going to be, in my opinion, a big moving point and a big help to Ethereum moving forward. But yes, don't fade chains that you believe in just because there's FUD and they're not doing well when other chains are doing well. That's not the time that you make a trade, right? That's not a time that you sell if you still believe in that project. And I'm still very bullish on Ethereum this cycle, very bullish. Yeah. And bullish on Ethereum means I'm also very bullish on projects that are essentially leveraged on Ethereum, like Pulse Chain ecosystem.
Yeah,
huge bullish on that ecosystem this cycle.
And to just round off this conversation, like this thing about Bitcoin dominance and maintaining a fairly Bitcoin or Ethereum heavy portfolio, right, for the majority of the bull market, it's one of those things that you really only realize as you mature within the space, right? I think like most people want the volatility that comes with being invested in altcoins, but they can't handle it, right? That's why people get rinsed out of their positions, because they cannot handle the volatility that's part and parcel of being in altcoins that are super high up on the risk curve, right? Like you really only learn that with maturity in the market if you don't get rinsed and you don't quit, right? And so like this is something that you recognize, especially when you try and analyze patterns to the degree that we do, right? You realize that dominance tends to climb like all the way up until Q4 or Q1 of the post having a year, right? You also realize that dominance keeps increasing if the Federal Reserve is in a period of QT, right? Like it doesn't really make the downwards move until several months post QE, right? When people finally start catching up, like, oh, this is real. QE is not just a fairy tale. Like rates are actually coming down and the prices are reflecting that, right? Like those are things that you don't realize until you've been in the market, like because it makes sense, right? If the Fed is tightening like monetary policy, why the hell would people rotate into volatile assets? It doesn't make any logical sense, bro. Like if money is tight all over the world, you really think people are gonna risk being in like high up on the risk ladder? Like of course not. So it's like that's the kind of like these are like puzzle pieces that or like dots that you connect only when you're in the market long enough and you actually take the time to analyze the data, right? And so like if I were to like give somebody some unsolicited non-financial advice for like the next 4-year cycle, like keep a close eye on what the monetary policy is, right? Keep a close eye on what point of the cycle are we in? Are we like post halving year? Are we in Q4 of the halving year, right? And then you can make more reasonable like investment decisions there, right? Because if you would have been Bitcoin heavy this entire bull market because you were like, all right, man, we're still in QT, we're not post halving year yet, dominance is probably going to keep climbing, and if I make my trade like a few months after QE, or in Brendan's case, right, just like a few weeks or a month or so before QE began, like, bro, if you rotated Bitcoin into Ethereum like a month ago or like a few weeks ago, you got the best ratio, even better than the ratio we made during the bottom of the bear market. That's how dominant Bitcoin has been, bro. Like, that's no exaggeration. Like, the math is not going to lie to you. The math is showing you right there in the chart, bro. Right? So it's like, these are things that you only learn if you've been around long enough or you pay close attention to channels like this.
I want to take this opportunity to do a little bit of a transition here. You were talking about non-financial advice and people have to pay attention closely to stuff that's going on in the market. I'm going to actually bring up an article that I thought is absolutely fucking hilarious. I'm going to go ahead and get ready for share screen right now. Mrs. Producer, if you don't mind pulling this up for me, that would be fantastic. So for the folks at home who have not heard about, I guess I'll make this a little bit wider so we can see what's going on. Oh, lovely. We get some articles and stuff on the side. But for those of you guys that didn't hear, and this is some legitimate news, I'll go ahead and switch over to the official tab from the United States Attorney Office, District of Columbia. The FBI arrests an Alabama man in the January 2024 SEC X Twitter hack that spiked the value of Bitcoin. So for those of you that have not read it, there's this cat, Eric Council Jr. He's 25 years old. He hacked the Twitter account of the SEC and said, "Hey guys, the Bitcoin ETF has been approved." And Bitcoin shot up to like 69,000 and some change. And they said it did a price spike of 1,000. But he basically, homeboy did a SIM swap and somehow tricked his phone and tricked the Twitter spaces into believing that he was the SEC. So this shit's fucking awesome. And so like I'm super stoked that he did it, one, because it's an awesome hell of a troll thing to do. Two, the FBI went out and got him. So you definitely made a change in the space there. And I know we were probably a little bit pissed at the time when we were like hearing about the SEC's Twitter account getting hacked and everything. But Gary Gensler hopped on about 15 minutes after this attack happened, claiming that the commission had not approved the listing and the trading of spot Bitcoin exchange traded products had been compromised, or that the account had been compromised. So that shit was fucking hilarious. I thought it was hilarious and super funny. And it just goes to show that like we're in a super cool period of time where there's some crazy shit going on and people looking at Twitter accounts and and speculating things, and the prices are doing all sorts of craziness. But yeah, I want to get your guys' thoughts on this fun little article before we start jumping into the more serious articles that are coming up in the near future regarding
Well,
Bitcoin and the SEC.
This is a joke, right? Are they really going to prosecute this guy?
This is not a joke.
No, I know it's not a joke, but this happened on January 9th, okay? The next day, on January 10th, the SEC said, actually, we do approve the Bitcoin spot ETF. So it's like, yeah, this guy hacked the Twitter, sent out a tweet a day early, but the SEC still approved it the next fucking day.
Yeah.
It's like, really? It was approved, Mr. Gensler. You just hadn't made the announcement. And so, look, it is funny. It's hilarious. It's even funnier that the FBI is wasting our tax dollars to go over to arrest somebody on something that was honestly pretty mild.
Yeah.
I get that they kind of have to. Look, I get it because he hacked a government agency, blah, blah, blah. Like, look, okay. But it is ironic that the next day, within less than 24 hours, they send out another approval for the ETF. So it didn't really, yes, the market went up, then it went down when Gary Gensler said it was false, and then they approve it the next day and it goes up even higher. So did it really hurt anybody? Unless you sold on that or bought because you don't have a long-term outlook, then yeah, I guess it could have hurt you, but that's on you. But that's on all of you because we knew the SEC was going to approve it in the next coming couple days anyway.
Yeah. Well,
This is just a fun. Whenever you're done with your point, I want to read through the story of what actually happened because this is actually it's pretty fucking funny.
Yep.
So go ahead with your thought, Jay.
For those of you who are a little bit lost, remember earlier this year when Cointelegraph, I think it was the Telegraph, posted the fake news article saying the SEC approved the spot Bitcoin ETF. This is what that's referring to, right? Because the account was hacked, and that's probably why he's being arrested because like you hacked a government entity's website, right? Or in this case, an X account. So that's probably what he's being arrested for. But the funniest thing about this, it's what's crazy? Like I didn't even know Will was going to pull this up because I was reading through this earlier this morning. You know what? You know why this fucker got caught? He got caught. Well, I don't know why he got caught. But if I was going to put my money on it, because this dude, after he did the SIM swap, he apparently fucking went to Google and typed in, how do I know that the government is coming after me or something along those lines?
Yeah.
Fucking, there you go. Will's got it highlighted. Go ahead, Will.
That's what I got.
He couldn't just, by the way, this is not financial advice or advice, but if I want to look something up that I don't want people to see, I'm probably going to use like MetaMask, and I'm probably going to use the browser within some sort of, third-party decentralized app that I don't need to KYC. MetaMask might not even be the best one. There are other better ones, but like, I'm not just going to Google on Google. You know what I mean? Like,
this shit's fucking funny though. Like, realistically, this kid's 25, and I gotta give this dude props. He's pretty fucking resourceful for a 25-year-old. So I'm gonna read through the events as described from justice.gov. So as described in the indictment, Counsel, who's the dude's name, his name is Counsel, Eric Counsel, who used online monikers including Ronin, Easy Money, and a giant schnauzer, received personal identifying information and an ID card template containing a victim's name and photo from co-conspirators. Counsel then used his identification card printer to create a fake ID with the information. He then used a SIM card linked to the victim's phone by presenting the fake ID at a cell phone provider store in Huntsville, Alabama, purchased an iPhone in cash, and used the two items to obtain access codes to @SEC Gov, the Twitter account, the X account. He then shared those codes with members of the conspiracy, who then accessed the account and issued the fraudulent tweet on the SEC government X account in the name of the SEC chairman, falsely announcing the approval of the Bitcoin ETFs. He then received a Bitcoin payment for performing this successful SIM swap, and shortly thereafter drove to Birmingham, Alabama to return the iPhone used in the SIM swap for cash. He later conducted internet searches for SEC Gov hack, Telegram SIM swap, and how can I know for sure if I'm being investigated by the FBI? What are the signs that you're under investigation by law enforcement or the FBI, even if you have not been contacted by them? So this guy, he's one small part. He's one cog in a machine. So like, I got to give this kid props. This shit's fucking hilarious. Good for him for doing it, and bad for the SEC for having a hackable account. And
We
I'm
don't.
sure that a lot of things have changed as a result of this, but it's fucking funny that they sent the FBI after him. Like of all, you know,
I'll
of
just
all,
say we don't recommend hacking government websites. You're going to get in trouble if you do.
that's true. Yeah, you
I
should
don't recommend
definitely.
hacking government accounts. We're not celebrating this person. We're just saying it's funny and you know, like, you know, it's hilarious.
Yeah, I will
Yep.
say points for the technical acumen that this guy obviously has for being able to perform that, but dock points for Jesus Christ, terrible internet hygiene, bro. Like if you're going to be an internet criminal, the first thing you should probably know how to do is to conduct proper internet hygiene.
There are plenty of ways to search something on the internet without being able to be linked back to you.
Like if I was the FBI, those are exactly the types of searches that I would flag 24 hours after the fucking thing happened, bro. Like it's like the low-hanging fruit if you were a federal investigator. Like, all right, what are the IP addresses linked to this search? SEC government Twitter hack.
Yeah. Hey, my spidey sense is tingling. He really just like laid out a really nice little breadcrumb trail for these FBI guys. All right, Mr. Producer, I'm going to go ahead and finish my screen share here in a second. That was all that I wanted to cover for this particular article, but yeah, that was a fun one for us to start the day off. Since we're talking about the SEC, we're talking about Bitcoin, we're talking about price action. They finally got this dude, a couple days ago. So hey, fucking.
Hey, you know it's crazy if he's that good, or well, I don't know if he's that good, because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who could do what he did. Well, not a lot, but like certainly a lot more than like 1% of the total world population. I know for sure that the U.S. government has definitely employed some of these former hackers.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. After
Like,
he's done serving he'll either serve his time or he'll go work for him. Kind of like how, a lot of the judges back in the day used to be like, hey, you can go to jail or you can go to war and fight for the country. And it's like,
Or a company will hire him that wants, someone to help secure their servers or their backdoors or their weak points. Look, people that this have happened to, like you said, Will, oftentimes have gotten lucrative jobs post, being in trouble.
Yep. Look at Jordan Belfort. I mean, it's not quite the same, but it's similar. He got out of prison, started basically selling his story about how he crashed the stock market and scammed a bunch of people, and now he's making a boatload of money. So there is bright prospects for this kid. I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years down the road, or 5. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
If you take a look at some of the top white hacker groups, right? Some of those like actual companies, their best guys were like former criminals, and the government was like, "Yo, you should just come and work for us."
Yeah, I mean, clearly love what you do.
Yeah, like you could probably
put it in the right direction.
Yeah, you could probably like think about a lot of examples. Like for example, like maybe some of those some of the Soviets during like maybe World War II who like sought some refuge here in the United States, and then we were like, yeah, bro, if you want us to take you in as a refugee, you better put your talents to good use and come work for us instead.
Yep. Speaking of the United States making good use of talents and things, do you guys want to talk about the Bitcoin options approvals? Do you want to talk about a different thing that we have highlighted up? Because I think that's a good transition.
Yeah. Do you want to go through the chat shout outs first? We got
oh, you know what? Actually, that's a fantastic point. We've had a couple of them stacking up. Mr. Producer, if you don't mind, go ahead and pull on up some of those chat motherfucking shout outs. We appreciate you guys spending this time here live with us. And those of you guys that chat are going to get recognized. So first and foremost, we've got Miss Sandy Beach with the Sandy Beach emoji. What's up, Sandy Beaches? Good to see you. Hello, Degen Roundtable and everyone with the nice little smiley face. Good to see you, Sandy. Welcome to the channel. We appreciate you being here live. An excellent member of the Degen Roundtable family. Up next, we've got Jonathan. Hi, friends. Hello, Jonathan. Good to see you, broski. Welcome to the chats.
Our new engineer.
Oh, yes. Oh, is Jonathan an engineer?
Yeah, he just graduated.
Oh,
Yep.
fucking congratulations, amigo. Most excellent. Good shit. Good shit. Get out there and build some bridges or sign some papers. And
yeah, he's Asian, so obviously a math degree
there we go.
of some sort.
Comes with the territory. All right. Next up for chat shoutouts, we've got Pulse Hex saying, will Pulse ever get back to the sack rate? I don't know. It depends on if people buy more. If people buy more, then yes. If people don't, then I guess it never will. I don't know, bro. I can't see the future, but if I was a gambling man, I would gamble on it doing so.
Yep.
So
same.
That's my
guess is it will get back to sack rate and will get quite a bit above sack rate at some point this cycle.
Yeah.
Yes. That's where my thoughts are. And that's operating on blind faith and prediction of the campfire stories that float around inside my head. Nobody knows the future, but like if we were gambling men, which we are because we're in the space, then that's our gamble. So do with that information what you will. None of this is financial advice. Speaking of financial advice, I've got some advice for you guys. Dr. H, the crypto practor, says, "Hey, Degens, what's up? Spank the like button, boop the subscribe, share, and pump it." That's some fucking excellent advice, Dr. H. Shout out to Dr. H. We had a good time over on the F and Hangout. Zenith, myself, Nate, and Dr. H. And I can't remember. Hexagon Lost in Asia was also over there. So we had a great time on the F and Hangout. Lots of good stuff. We played What's in the Box. Dr. H. So he's a chiropractor in real life, and so he literally had us in the office, and he was X-raying boxes, and we had to guess what was inside of the box based on like what he was showing us on the screen. It was super cool, super fun. You guys should go check out his channel. He's super cool. He streams every Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern. So shout out to Dr. H, the crypto practor. Next up in chat shoutouts, we've got Mandolin PS. Welcome, Mandolin. Good to see you. I don't believe we've seen you on the show before, so welcome to the Degen Roundtable family. We stream here every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, where we cover guests, books, and news, respectively, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. So it's a good place. Nothing but good degenerates, good conversations, and lots of good information happening over here. And speaking of good things happening over here, we've got Mr. Hexagon Lost in Asia himself. He is here for it. Fucking A right. We had a good time chatting with you, by the way, on the F and Hangout, bro. That was a freaking excellent time. So welcome to the show. Good to have you live with us, Mr. Hexagon. And I do believe that covers it for chat shout outs. And I'm going to check.
Wait, Will, you gotta bring up Jonathan's last comments here, bro. He says, this one was hilarious. He was like, last night at an event, these high-end people asked for my price, and I replied, expensive.
So just for context, if you pull up his previous one, he has 2 careers.
Okay, goes to 2 careers. He also does a private bartender that goes to rich people's houses. That's excellent.
It's the right answer. What's your price? Expensive. You know, always expect them wanting. And honestly, one of the best negotiation tactics is to always understand what other people's value is first. So I do a lot of negotiation within my job, my career, and the best way is never to be the first one to put a number on the table, because you don't know what the other numbers that someone else has, and so they might pay you double or triple what your number would be. And so you don't want to lose that margin. And so you want to find a way that they give you a number first, and that way you can negotiate from there. And that's a great way to start that negotiation by already putting it into their head that it's going to be more expensive than they anticipate.
Yeah.
There's are you familiar with Chris Voss at all, Brendan?
Dude, have you read Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference?
Yeah.
He's good.
Yep. That's a good book. There's a lot of good books by him, and I think not Patrick Lencioni, the guy that did Influence. I can't remember his name, but lots of great books out there on negotiation and everything. And I'll say that one of the fun things that I recommend to people who are like that, and like not seriously, of course, but one of the things that I do is I say whenever someone like they go to offer you a price, before they say the number, you just say, stop whatever your number is, add 5% if I want to get more money from you, and subtract 5% if you want to, if I want to like gain your friendship or something along those lines. It's just like fucking with the numbers, fucking with the meta of the game. But that's enough of that. Let's transition. Do you have something, Jay? Are you Are you
Oh
signaling?
no,
or are you
I was just gonna say that Jonathan says that I made him money. If I made you money because of the TA, Jonathan, well, I'm glad we were able to provide that for you, which is precisely why we encourage people to scan the damn QR code, jump in the Telegram chat, because if you want the alpha and you want us to help you make money the same way that we obviously may help Jonathan make money, well, you know where to go.
Yep. We give you guys the tools for you all to help yourselves. I'm going to go. Oh, excuse me. I'm going to go ahead and drop the link for joining the Telegram in the live chats down below. For those of you guys that are watching on Facebook, you can't see these chats that are going on in YouTube. Just go to youtube.com/@Degen Roundtable, and you'll be able to find our show over there. But for those of you guys that are not already in the Telegram, it is t.me/DRT join now. And that's for those of you that are listening on the audio only that can't see the screen or can't click the links. It is t.me/DRT join now. So that's how you get in the Telegram. We put all the super cool, awesome stuff in there first. And our goal here at the Degen Roundtable is basically just to enable all you guys to have the best tools. So that way you can help yourself escape from the rat race, get a good financial future, and, have fun doing it, and maybe be a little bit degenerate on the way. But before we get too degenerate, let's talk about the SEC, and let's talk about this this stuff that's going on with the new approvals. Oh shoot, I do not have the article pulled up. Shame on me. But the general idea is this: SEC has approved, granted accelerated approval to 11 ETFs to list and trade options linked to spot Bitcoin prices on the New York Stock Exchange. These options offer a way for institutional investors to hedge their exposure to Bitcoin. So basically what that means is it's now legal to trade derivatives where the underlying commodity is the Bitcoin ETF. That's more or less what that means. I think that means like shorts and longs and puts and calls and all those other stock words that I don't know what they mean. But it basically, people are now allowed to more or less gamble on the traditional stock version of Bitcoin more so than the online cryptocurrency version. Am I getting that right, Jay and Brendan? Does that sound about correct for an elevator pitch?
Yeah. Yeah, I actually like options, especially with something as volatile as crypto, right? Because you could basically set like a stop loss, right? You could set a put and be like, okay, I think that this thing is gonna fall in value. You're gonna pay a small premium, in this case, probably to your brokerage, right? And if the thing falls and then hits your strike price, then you're able to sell the particular asset, in this case Bitcoin, right, at the price you guys set it at. So like you didn't actually have to sell it, you have the option. That's why it's called option. That's why you had the option of selling it, right? So that way, like, you saw the price go down, you got confirmation of the price go down, but you're still able to sell it at the higher higher amount, right? So it's like there's a way to hedge your to hedge risk with options, which is one of the reasons why people like to use it, right? Especially in a market that's volatile as crypto. So I think this is just like, it's good for the space, because now you're going to bring even more people from traditional finance into it, because now they can do options trading on the platform that they already like, which is the iBits, the Fidelities, etc., right? So it's like when you introduce those types of features to an underlying asset class, you're only going to bring more people in, right? Like, and obviously it's beneficial for folks like us who want to hedge risk, because we now we have more options to hedge there, right? Because you can't set a stop loss in DeFi. We don't have that ability yet, right? We can't set stop losses in DeFi. Like, please correct me if I'm wrong, anybody in the chat, if you know some way to set stop losses in DeFi. But the only way I know how to set a stop loss in crypto is through a centralized entity, right? So until somebody provides that service, we're gonna have to go through centralized entities for it.
You used to be able to in the United States with KuCoin. I used to options trade with KuCoin. I could leverage up to 100x.
100.
Now it wouldn't always let you leverage up that much, but you could easily leverage 10x on KuCoin. And I did play around with that, mostly just for educational purposes. I've option traded traditional markets as well in the past, but it does, if you want to just use a small amount of money, it does give you an opportunity to kind of learn, practice your charting, practice your ups and your downs. There's a way to do it from a standpoint where it's safer. And one of those things is putting your stop losses, your profit taking points in KuCoin's not even available now in the United States. They like shut everything down. But if you're not in the United States, there might still be an option to use KuCoin for those types of option trades. But I would love to have something in the future for DeFi. That would be fantastic. But overall, I think this option trading is going to be great for Bitcoin. It's going to, potentially also increase liquidity. It's going to allow more buying and selling. And generally, this is very good for the market overall.
Yeah. Yeah. I would mainly use it for risk management, bro. Like I'm not I don't like taking leverage, man.
I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it, and I don't do it anymore. I just, but it's there, and it's an opportunity, like you said, to take your losses, your stop losses, or look, you could put out in the future, hey, if this hits X amount of price, sell X percentage of my bag, right? You can set those sell points up as well, which is really helpful because of how volatile crypto is, right? If you get a wick up or a wick down, you might be able to catch that a lot better, either to buy or sell, than you would without it.
Yeah, like I don't mind paying a premium to sell a put. Again, it's like just more options for you to be able to hedge your risk. So like I don't mind paying the small premium, especially if I can sell, if I can sell my put and then be able to buy back in lower anyway. So right, it's just like I think if you have that thing for Bitcoin, if you have it for Ethereum, and they're most likely going to be approving that also for any future ETFs, like Solana, I think is probably going to be approved sometime in March or April. If I got my dates correctly. So yeah, it's only going to provide more benefit to you as a trader, or even just like as a hodler. If you're somebody who gets paranoid about about the volatility of the market, then it's one thing you could use to give you some peace of mind.
I'm looking at the difference between stop losses and limit orders, and I'm coming to the conclusion that a limit order is essentially you're injecting liquidity at a set price, whereas a stop loss is like you still own it, but it's an automated process that triggers once X, Y, and Z criteria is met. So like the limit order is like you're literally putting your money into the market, or your asset into the market, whatever it might be, and then a stop loss is like, hey, if this then that. You can just automatically.
They
one's a buy, one's a sell.
Yeah, they call puts, like they use that term interchangeably because like being able to sell a put at your strike price, like let's say you think that your asset is going to fall at this level, right? That's your strike price. If your strike price is hit, even if the price keeps going down, you have the option to exercise that put at that strike price level. Right.
Yeah.
So you don't have to sell any lower. You you pay the premium to be able to sell it at your strike price. Right.
Yeah.
Which is
that's how they make the money.
It's a form of stop loss, basically, right? Which Caroline Ellison, she doesn't trade with stop losses. So
yes, I remember that being a thing. That is interesting. That's because you're basically, the way that functions is you're essentially using other people's money, right? When you sign this agreement, you're entering into an agreement with some large entity that has a boatload of money, and they're saying like, hey, because you're going to pay us this premium over this time length to have this availability, if like price does this, that, or the other thing, like then so that means that the other large entity that you're gambling with, and they're the ones setting the fees and setting the execution and everything. So it's basically just like you're gambling with the dude who has more money than you, or something.
Which is why I think like this kind of service is not available in DeFi, because DeFi, like the ethos is DeFi is no middleman, right? And by nature, you need a middleman for this kind of transaction.
Yeah,
so,
you're betting against the house instead of betting against the system. So like I'm guessing that Fame and Fux is the exchange. Fame is the leveraging thing over on Pulse Chain, right? Are you guys familiar with either of those two protocols?
I know the
Fame
concept behind them, but I have not interacted with them. But you know me, bro. I don't interact with anything outside of the core 4, really.
Yeah. I know that FAME you can do leverage. Like you could take leverage against Hex. You could take leverage against. I don't know if Pulse Chain or Pulse Hex, but I know that you can do it against Hex, where
Yeah.
you can short and you can long against that, and that is
Yeah.
available. But shorting and longing is different than options, correct?
Yeah.
Or is shorting and longing a version of options? There's puts and calls and shorts and longs, right?
They're all forms of derivatives trading.
Okay, derivatives, got it.
Mhm.
And then options are specifically puts and
Calls.
calls. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
Alrighty. Very interesting.
You know what's funny, Will? You brought up fucks. I was
Yeah.
watching this with MicroStrategy. I was watching an interview with Michael Saylor just this morning, right? His most recent one. And he was like, if you hate Bitcoin, then MicroStrategy should be your favorite company because you could just short MicroStrategy. It reminded me when Richard tweeted, if you hate Hex, then now you have a protocol to short Hex, which was fucks. So it just kind of reminded me of that. So I thought that was hilarious that you brought it up.
Yeah. I mean, hey, fucking everyone that hates Bitcoin can go into short MicroStrategies and see what happens.
Yep.
You know, maybe they'll get liquidated, maybe they'll have fun. But awesome. So any final thoughts on this topic? Otherwise, we will mosey on over to another one. Brendan, you got anything negative? I'm seeing shaking heads.
No, good.
Alrighty, excellent. Next up on the agenda, let's see. Crypto.com sees strong legal footing. Actually, shoot, Brendan, the article we were talking about in the green room that was like
Yeah, I can pull that up real quick if you want, because there's really just two paragraphs that I want to touch on it.
Yeah, let's go ahead and
the headline is totally clickbait, so it's BS.
Oh yeah. But that's how they get you. It's important. Look, for the folks at home who don't know, if you guys don't have clickbait headlines, congratulations. Everyone else does. So if you want people to watch your shit, you gotta make clickbait headlines, right? You're simply not going to compete with the market if you don't do clickbait headlines. So you'll see we're gonna do that on the Degen Roundtable. Like we'll have like good substance to carry the clickbait, but if we don't get you to click on the thing in the first place, then you never come on over to the stream and you never find out the things that we have to say. So like the way that you tell like a good product or a good company or not is like, one, they do the clickbait to get you in, because if they never get you into the sandwich shop, you're never going to buy the sandwich. And then two, like once you're actually sitting there purchasing the sandwich, it has to be a good fucking sandwich. If they get you the clickbait and you go and look at the sandwich and it's actually a pile of dog shit, then you're like, oh, this is not a good sandwich. I've been bamboozled. But if they get you with the clickbait and the sandwich is delicious, then you're like, hey, everybody wins. So clickbait itself isn't bad. It's about how people use it. So this was a Forbes article, wasn't it? Wasn't it?
Yes.
I believe.
Hold up.
It's
Just
Forbes.
need to
Okay.
need that to be shared.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, I hate how Forbes is laid out, like all these ads and all that stuff. But anyway,
is that
there are
Martha Stewart?
Oh my gosh. Anyway, just pay attention to this paragraph here. There's two paragraphs I think that were, because look, Larry Fink said some things that I think were important for the market. First, he believes Bitcoin is its own asset class in itself. You know, it's an alternative to commodities like gold. And he's really continuing to push that narrative that Bitcoin is its most important, it is important because it is its own asset class, gives you, a different style of investment, right? Like if you want to diversify, as they want to diversify, BlackRock in a lot of different areas, Bitcoin is one of those areas that they need to have a stronghold in. And, Bitcoin now having ETF, now having Bitcoin options, these are really big for Bitcoin to continue to grow. And as he continues here, and so I think the application of this form of investment will expand. And two, the role of Ethereum as a blockchain can grow dramatically. So if we create more acceptability, more transparency, more analytics related to these assets, then it will be expanded. And he went on to say, essentially, that he sees, the growth in the building upon Ethereum to be really important, that he thinks Ethereum is going to grow because of that ability to build, right? Like Bitcoin is important to him because it's its own asset class, it's its own commodity. It's giving you some safe investment, to counteract other parts of the market if the United States economy collapses or whatever the case may be. Bitcoin gives you a safe haven, different than gold, right? And it has different benefits than gold. They both have their benefits as a store of value. But Ethereum is something that he sees people being able to build off of, right? Companies. And this is going to create a bigger system within that platform. And so he thinks that both Bitcoin and Ethereum are going to have huge growths moving forward. And so I mentioned before that people are starting to fade Ethereum a little bit. If the institutions aren't fading Ethereum, and it's one of the only commodities, right? It's a commodity that has an ETF in the digital space, then there's huge opportunity for money to be able to go there. And I'll just say that Anthony Scaramucci of Skybridge Capital, he said that Bitcoin could be 170,000. You know, we talked about it hit maybe 150 next year. He thinks that 170K is a great target number for Bitcoin. So as we continue this digital revolution, Bitcoin and Ethereum are going to be the two big ones, the two leaders. For now.
Before we hit 170,000, we have to hit 169,420. That's all that I've got to say about that. The Bitcoin hitting the 69,420 marks are my particular favorite things. It's always interesting to hear the mental math that people do when coming up with their, you know, their hopium copium target numbers for what they think coin's going to do. It's always interesting, and you know, like everyone's just throwing spaghetti at the wall and lighting up these nice, warm, fuzzy campfire stories. Jay, it looks like you have a thought to share.
Yes, sir. I'm actually gonna, since we are already on the topic of BlackRock, I'm
yeah.
gonna share my screen here real quick, just to give you guys an overview of what's been happening with both the Bitcoin and the Ethereum ETFs over the past few weeks. So here I have the inflows for the Bitcoin ETFs.
That was the next thing I was gonna. Excellent, good thinking.
This is I'm going to switch over to the weekly chart. So what you could see here, right? On the beginning of October, we had a little bit of a scare because we had a slight dump in the market. You know, like people panic. But if you can see here, look at the 2 consecutive weeks that followed, right? We just had the weekly close, and we have had, this is just a little bit north of $2 billion worth of inflows for the Bitcoin ETFs, right? The only other time we've had the higher amount of inflows was here at the very top of, you know, this was when basically Bitcoin was getting close to its new all-time high, right? Of March of this year. That was a $2.5 billion worth of inflows, right? So the ETFs, in terms of inflows, are starting to accumulate and starting to really ratchet. I mean, look at the difference between the second week and the third week of October, man. That is a significant, like when you talk about parabolic increases, that's a parabolic increase, right? And this is not just happening for Bitcoin, right? Obviously, the Ethereum ETFs are trading at about a fraction of the Bitcoin ETFs. But if we switch over to the Ethereum ETFs aren't looking too shabby either in terms of the weekly volume. Check this out.
The Fidelity looked good with Ethereum,
right? So not as crazy as Bitcoin, obviously, right? But we're getting up to about the highest inflow week that we had here back when it first released, right? We had third week. The third week of the from launch, we had the positive inflows for the Ethereum ETF at about $100 million, right? And we're getting close to there as well again, right? So I think Q4 is finally when you're going to start momentum building within the Ethereum ETFs, because look, we always say that timing is important when you're trying to release products. And the release of the Ethereum ETFs, unfortunately, came at a very unfortunate time in the market, right? I think fortunate for Ethereum because it's what held Ethereum. It kept Ethereum's head above water, right? We had that wick to about $2,000 in the middle of this year for Ethereum, right? And I think it only got down to $2,000 because the Ethereum ETFs allowed Ethereum to rally all the way up to 4,000. Right? If Ethereum didn't do that, then I think we would have gone significantly lower in terms of price. So I think Q4 of this year, once the market starts to really heat up, is I think when you're going to start seeing more momentum build up in terms of the inflows for Ethereum, right? Because right now we really haven't seen what this thing is capable of, because we've had weekly inflows in the red for the majority of the time since it went live, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 weeks, right? And about 75% of the time we've spent in the red, right? So we really haven't seen what the demand is like for Ethereum ETFs when the market is running hot. So it'll be interesting to see what this looks like once we round off Q4 of this year. But in terms of like the ETFs are in terms of the ETFs, the inflows are really starting to like pick up the pace in terms of in terms of inflows. So
Excellent. Man, I just totally mind blanked right there as to what I was going to say. Basically, number comes in, number goes up, we all get our bags pumped, and then the traditional finance people get to be happy that they're participating in their own little grandpa versions of the technology as we
Yep.
go through this crypto space and stuff.
Mhm.
All right. Let's see. I think that covers that pretty well. I don't think there was anything else in this article. I was looking at the Cointelegraph article of the Bitcoin hit 20 million, yada yada yada. Oh, no, excuse me, 20 billion net flows. Yeah, that was the thing. I hadn't even looked at the Ethereum stuff, so thank you for bringing that up. That's
Yeah.
good things. All right, let's take a look at what next we've got on the docket. Let's see. Ooh, here's a fun one. All right, so I didn't put this in the chats or anything, so this is going to be a fun one. But have you guys heard about what happened with Ireland's crime bureau? And
What happened to them?
so they've got $137
Love
million
Ireland.
in Bitcoin that
Nice.
they can't touch, that they seized in 2020 because they don't have the private keys for their own little
Oh.
coins. So hang on, I'm looking up the article right now, but I saw this on Crypto News earlier. This shoot, I want to say it happened either, or this article came out either yesterday or the day before. Stand by as I Google it, but that shit's fucking hilarious. I mean, like we always say, guys, not your keys, not your coins, right? So
What's the total holdings, Will?
130 or $378 million of Bitcoin seized in 2020 because they do not have, and this is from News Crypto. I'm trying to find the actual article.
That's a few dozen. That's a few dozen Bitcoin right there, man.
Yeah, that is no
Oh, wait,
small amount.
400 million.
Yeah, basically 400 million.
Yeah. So what? 55,000 Bitcoin, give or take. 55,000 Bitcoin.
There are not any matches. What
If
the heck?
If it's $400 million worth in Bitcoin, I misspoke. That's about a half dozen Bitcoin in today's prices.
Ireland's crime bureau.
What?
Yeah, because if we're talking about $400,
So
$400 million, yeah,
5,500 Bitcoin, give or take.
Okay, here we go. Crypto Times. All right, I'm pulling up the article. All right,
Right, G?
Mrs. Producer.
No. If we're talking, so if the total value of their holdings amounts to $400
million
in Bitcoin, then I'll have to come up. I'll have to do a calculator, but that's a lot of Bitcoin.
About 5,500 Bitcoin.
Yeah. So that's
I
no small amount.
just calculated it. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what they're gonna be basically the forced hodl people. I think that's good for Ireland, because if Ireland has not gone through a full 4-year cycle of exactly what Bitcoin can do, they're gonna be really happy or really devastated to see what their holdings are at the end of this 4-year cycle if they don't hire somebody to crack that safe.
I mean, they're not going to be able to crack it, like, unless because the hash rate keeps getting stronger, and the like it keeps getting more. So they have to find the source, whatever the heck, wherever it is. Like if they can crack the Bitcoin code, then more power to them. Is that what you were implying, Jay?
No, there are people who provide the services of, if you've lost your private keys, they can try and actually crack your safe. Like if you lost the keys to your Trezor or your Ledger, right? There are individuals who've basically made it a living to be able to crack that safe for you, right? But it's not a guaranteed process.
Oh,
so
that sounds fishy.
They're probably going to hire somebody in that regard.
It also depends what their seed phrase is, right? If it's 12 words or 20 words is a big difference if they're likely to be able to crack that or not.
Yeah. Is it like a 12 seed? Like, is it 12 seed words? Is it 18? Is it a multi-sig wallet? Right. So if you've got multi-sig, you might be up shit's creek without a paddle, man. Yeah.
That's interesting. Oh, check this out. So they fucking, oh my God. Ireland's Criminal Asset Bureau has encountered a major challenge in recovering a massive amount of Bitcoin seized from Clifton Collins, a convicted drug dealer in 2019. He was growing cannabis, and he invested in Bitcoin back in 2011. Holy smokes. This poor dude. Like, man, what a tragic, like, I'm not personally terribly fond of the government, and this is my own. I don't speak for the Degen Roundtable. This is me personally. I don't like the government telling people what they can and can't do with like themselves. And if this dude wanted to sell some leafs to people, and he bought the best asset class in the world in order to do so, and then Ireland took it, and then Ireland lost his motherfucking keys, like, holy smokes. So to protect his investments, Colin divided his Bitcoin into 12 different virtual wallets, wrote down the access codes on a piece of paper, which he stored inside a fishing rod case at one of his rented properties. However, after his arrest, he claimed that the case was lost during a break-in. Without the codes, neither Collins nor the authorities have been able to retrieve the Bitcoin. So Collins
Lost in a boating accident.
he lost it in a boating accident. This is excellent. All right, so there's potentially, $378 million worth of Bitcoin just chilling on the blockchain. But like, man, that's a game of high stakes. A nice big old waiting game right there. So I'm super stoked about this. I thought it was hilarious that the government can't get into it. And it's based like, this is essentially the reason that crypto is created, is so the government can't take your stuff from you, and they can't mess with you, and that you don't have to be, held to the you don't have to be held within the system as it exists. It's one of the civil asset forfeiture is another thing that that's a whole rabbit hole of discussion and conversation. But this story brings me jollies because it's basically a government blunder, and if nothing else, these bags are diamond hands, which removes sell pressure from the marketplace. And that is no small chunk of change, $400 million basically. So
yeah, we talk about the
that's pretty cool.
scarcity of Jay. We talk about the scarcity of Bitcoin, and 21 million Bitcoin total ever, right? What we don't talk a lot about, we've mentioned, but people, I think, especially normies, don't realize how much Bitcoin is never going to be able to be accessed again because of lost codes, Satoshi's OA address. Like, There's a lot of Bitcoin that is just never going to be in circulation again. It's never going to be on exchange again because it's inaccessible. It's never going to be able to get to yet. And what that number is, we really don't know what that total number is, but my guess is it's higher than people anticipate.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if I was this guy, I'd be spiteful too and tell the government that I lost it in a boating accident as well. Yep. I love that he split his holdings in 12 different wallets because it's a 12-word seed phrase. So good news for the government of Ireland. It's probably not multi-sig, and it's only 12 seed words, but it's 12 different wallets. So good luck, friends.
I would like to know how this story ends when it eventually ends.
He gets out of jail, and then he somehow accidentally stumbles upon these seed phrases that he had lost.
Yeah. Bro, I would be so happy once this guy, because again, right, obviously you suffer the consequences of, like, if your country says we don't like marijuana here, then you're gonna be, you have to suffer the consequences for breaking that law. But we all know, like, marijuana is not a big fucking deal. It's not fucking cocaine, for God's sakes, right? So like, it would be so fantastic if once this guy makes it out of prison, right, go to a country that's friendly towards Bitcoin, just fortunately find your seed phrases again, and then live a happy rest of your life with your 5,500 plus Bitcoin, right? Because guess what? Even if the federal government of Ireland like seized your holdings, unless they get a hold of your private keys, that shit don't belong to them, buddy. It's still yours, my friend. So kudos to you for losing it in a fishing rod case or whatever it was.
Yeah. I hate how this article is framing it as if the government lost it. And it's like, no, the government didn't lose it. This is being
kept. It overlooks that part.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it. Like, they're describing this remains a significant challenge for the agency. It's like, yeah, you motherfuckers, don't get your grubby little hands on other people's shit. Stop stealing.
It's like that movie Zoolander, where they're trying to find the files. Like, oh, the files are in the computer, and they break open the computer to try to find the files. Oh, Bitcoin's on the hard drive. Oh wait, we need seed phrases to access it.
Yep.
Well, we didn't take those. We only took the little wallets.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. So I actually hope that they don't hire somebody so that, one, they don't have the ability to dump that into the market, right? Because they don't pull a Germany, and two, because that shit don't belong to them, bro.
Exactly. Like I don't think that the government should not have Bitcoin. Like, especially not the government that's going to do some bullshit to like a citizen that's living his life, right? And providing a service. They did say that they seized about 1.2 million euro of stuff. They also seized a gyrojet, which is like basically a helicopter that's a little bit more simple. And some other like fancy stuff from his property. But like, I don't like it when the government steals things from people and then uses it for monetary gain. Like, that shit does not bode well with
And the other thing is, it's not like all of this Bitcoin was made from illegal purposes. It sounds like he was investing in Bitcoin prior to maybe even selling marijuana or whatever he was doing. So
exactly.
Investing.
That's the part that kind of doesn't check out for me. It's like, okay, I had this, but I didn't get all this from buying or selling illegal drugs. So there's a bit of a disconnect there for me.
Like, if he was mining the Bitcoin is not a fucking crime, right? So the seizure of his assets was just somehow related to his arrest with him growing marijuana, right? He conducted no crimes when it came to crypto, right? So it's like, that's his shit, bro. So yeah, I'm glad they're locked the fuck out of his 12 wallets, because that don't belong to you.
And we don't know all the details, right? We don't know all the details, but
sure. If you guys happen to get pulled over while speeding and you have $10,001 in your car, congratulations, it belongs to the government now. Like, if you're doing anything that's bad, and you happen to be carrying some cash that you earned through a legitimate purpose, like, you go to jail. Or you don't go to jail, but it's not yours anymore. It's all gone. If you go to an airport and you've got more than 10,000, you don't declare it, you're going to jail. Or you're not going to jail. It's getting taken away. So like, this is the whole reason that, like, this is one of the many reasons that I'm in the cryptocurrency sphere, is because I don't like people stealing things from me, especially the government, the biggest strong arm, like, mob boss that there is in the current Western society. Like, if I was in a third world country, you don't have to worry about the government as much as you have to worry about the people. In first world country, you worry about the government. So it's like, to pick your poisons, pick your battles. But that's enough about that, gentlemen. Any final thoughts before we start wrapping up this show? And I'm also going to do chat shout outs here in a little bit. Anything you want to tell the folks before anything we've covered? Any last speak now or forever hold your peace kind of thing?
No, sir. Just sit back and relax, as next week is going to be interesting. Like I said, we might wake up to $70,000 Bitcoin. Who knows?
Especially with the option. I didn't see when the options trading is starting. Is that starting Monday?
Yeah, it should be starting Monday, because it got approved. Like, I think it got approved.
Friday. Friday.
Friday. Yeah,
approved Friday. So that'll be interesting to see how that affects the market too.
Yep. Excellent. All righty. Well, Mrs. Producer, if you don't mind, we're going to pull up some chats for this final round of chat motherfucking shout outs. So if you please, we've got Tam saying, "What's up, fam? What's up, Tam? Good to see you." There's a little smiley face in there as usual. Excellent, and glad to have you with us on this show. After that, we've got Paul Sachs. He early commutes his sentence in exchange for 2 of the wallets at the peak of the market. Ooh,
I wouldn't do it.
That's a tool to accomplish whatever goal you might have. So if that's what he chooses, and he loses a little bit of his fortune in exchange for his time. Some people value their time more than their money. Some people value their money more than their time. Some people value their principles more than anything. So if that's a choice that he's interested in making, then, like, hey, more power to him. I would prefer he not give it to the government personally, but like, it is what it is. I'm always going to be selfish and want the thing that I want. And I think that he should not give the money to the government, and he should rot in jail.
Yeah,
so
because the government didn't earn it, bro.
Yep. And they're going to dump on my heads. So like, whether they earned it or not, they're not going to value it the same way,
Yep.
So Anyways, those are my thoughts. Thank you guys for joining us, to my panel, to everyone out there live in the audience. You guys are fucking awesome. Thank you so much. We're going to now go around the horn and tell the people at home where we can be found and what we've got going on in the near future. I will start us off so that way, as soon as we're done, we can just hop right into the end of show copywriting. My name is Will Stevenson. You guys can find all of my socials at will.pls.fyi. That's where all of my stuff is at. I'll go ahead and copy that. And I actually have to open up YouTube because I'm dual streaming to Facebook right now. So if I want to post comments, I got to do it on the YouTube channel. So you guys can find all my socials at will.pls.fyi. Oh, excuse me. As far as things going on in the near future, this Friday coming up, I'm going to be hosting book club. We're covering the book Debt, which is a fantastic book that talks about the oldest currency in existence, which is social debt. That's what we're going to be doing on Friday. On Wednesday, I do believe that we have a special guest. I'm fairly certain that it's been confirmed, so I'm confident in saying that I believe that Brother KG, the gentleman who created Internet Money Wallet, and who heads up that whole project, he's going to be speaking with us. So I'm very much looking forward to that interview. It's going to be a good time. And then, next Sunday, you guys can catch us here doing the same thing, talking about the news, doing some TA. On Tuesday, we do our Telegram calls. So if you guys are not already a member, go ahead and join the Telegram community by scanning that QR code down below, or by clicking the link that I'm going to drop in the comments. Or for those of you on audio, go to t.me/DRT join now. So I've gone ahead and dropped the link in the chat. We have the QR code. It's up all stream. You guys can always see that thing as we're streaming. That covers everything that's going on with me. I'm going to be heading over to New York City for the Richard Hart hearing. So you guys will see me. For those of you that are also going over there, I'll catch you live. I think I got the VIP tickets, so I'll be going to the fancy dinner. I'll be going to the seminar. Black Hexagon, KC, she has asked me to be a speaker on one of the panels. So I'm going to be talking about, oh shoot, I can't remember what I'm talking about. I think I'm talking about networking and organizing meetups. So that's what's going to be going on with that panel, is basically just organizing Hexagons to go out and meet each other and do all sorts of fun things. So that's what's going on there. And yeah, I'm stoked to see you guys next week, and whenever next we are streaming. Mr. Brendan, why don't you go ahead and tell the folks at home where they can find you and what you have going on in the near future, and I will drop your link in the chat.
The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give a PSA to everybody out there. If you're in a project and you're sending free coins to people, expect those coins to be sold at some point. If you don't want someone to sell coins, don't send them free coins, okay? Like, I see all these people on Twitter recently being upset that people are selling coins that they were sent to them. Why are you sending me coins if you don't want me to sell them? Like, come on. Like, it's just common sense. If people am I upset at Mount Gox at Bank X for the sell walls on eHex? Sure. But it's not their fault that someone sent them a massive amount of coins. I'm sorry, Mr. Godwell. Not the smartest idea if you didn't want to dump on your community's heads. And it's that same case with meme coins or any other. The people are giving Sami a crap for a while because, they sent him coins. Like, I don't want your coins. I'm selling them. I don't even want them in my wallet. Like, look, if you don't want people to sell coins, don't send them free coins. Okay.
Yes.
That's my PSA. That's been bothering me all day. And I forgot to bring that up earlier. I would have got your guys' thoughts on it. If you want to say something as you close out, perfectly fine. But like, I don't know what you expect of people. Okay.
Yeah.
You're muted, sir.
Oh, yeah. I was wondering if I lost connection there.
Nope, that was me. No, other than that, though, I will not be on next Sunday's show, but I should be on Wednesday's show with KG. Looking forward to that. I mostly use MetaMask, but I've really been disappointed with it for a multitude of reasons. So I have been looking in. I have wallets on these other, but I haven't used them a lot. And so I'm excited to talk to KG, Internet Money Wallet, and Rabby, and there's a few others out there that I know people speak really highly of, and I need to use them a bit more myself. So looking forward to that. And just patience. Just keep preaching patience. Find me on X and follow me if you don't. That's all I got. Jay, buddy, take us away.
As always, thank you, folks, for joining us this wonderful Sunday evening, whether you are here with us live or you're going to catch us on the replay. As always, we know that time is your most valuable asset, so we do appreciate that you spend some of that time here with us at the Degen Roundtable. You can find me on Instagram at agent_J Schroth, on X at _P90Hex. Like the damn video, comment, subscribe, scan that QR code, jump into the Telegram chat. Until next time, Will, take us out.
All righty. Most excellent. And thank you also to Mrs. Producer behind the scenes, pulling up the chats, making the thumbnails, and doing the camera switching. You've done a fantastic job tonight. So shout out to Mrs. McGettit, everybody. And with that, I want to thank you all for spending your valuable time with us here on the Degen Roundtable. As Agent Jay literally just said a moment ago, we know that time is your most precious asset, and we appreciate you investing that asset right here with us. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching the Degen Roundtable. My name is Will Stevenson. Mrs. Producer, go ahead and get that trigger figure ready because it's time to remind all the folks at home to remember to Degen responsibly.